Good morning, students. We are in fourth unit. Present our topic is principles of geophysical study by electrical method. So now we need to discuss what is electrical method, what is the use of electrical methods, in what streams we have to use, what is the procedure, what type of instruments we have to use. These all things we need to discuss. Guys, geophysical investigations regarding this, our topic is electrical methods. So electrical method means electrical resistivity method is based on the difference in the electrical conductivity or the electrical resistivity of different soils. Resistivity is defined as resistance in ohms between the opposite phases of unit cube of a material. Here, uh, P is equal to RA by L, where P, P is resistivity in ohms per centimeter, R is the resistance in ohms, A is the cross-sectional area, centimeter square, L is length of the conductor in centimeters. So the resistivity value, the resistivity values of the different soils are listed here. Material, for example, if we take a massive rock, that resistance is greater than 400 ohms per centimeter. Shale and clay, and shale is the one type of rock, and clay is the one type of rock. If we conduct electrical resistivity method in shale rock and clay rock, we can get the resistivity 1 ohm per centimeter. And the seawater also, if we conduct the electrical resistivity method in seawater, we can get the value of 0.3 resistivity ohms per centimeter. And wet to moist clay soils 1.5 to 3 ohms per centimeter. So this is the resistivity of the different type of materials in subsurface of the earth. But actually, what is the principle, guys? All electrical methods are based on the fundamental fact that different materials of Earth's crust methods possess widely different electrical properties, resistivity, electrochemical activity, and differential constant are some of these properties that are generally studied through these methods. Results obtained from such studies, when interpreted properly, give sufficiently useful clues regarding the nature and makeup of the subsurface materials. Guys, here two common methods. The one is the equipotential method. Guys, here before we going to the common methods, we need to I need to tell something about the electrical resistivity method. So actually that matter is not mentioned here, but I will explain. You listen carefully, guys. Electrical resistivity is the resistance of material to the flow of electrical current. The electrical resistivity method involves measurement of the apparent resistivity of soils and rock as function of depth or position. The purpose of electrical surveys is to determine the subsurface resistivity distribution by making measurements on the ground surface. The resistivity of soils is a complicated function of various geological parameters such as the porosity, permeability, ionic content of the pore fluids, and clay mineralization in the rock. Electrical resistivity surveys have been used for many decades in hydrogeological mining and geotechnical investigations. More recently, it has been used for environmental surveys. The most common electrical methods used in hydrogeologic and environmental investigations are vertical electrical soundings and resistivity profiling. The resistivity measurements are normally made by injecting current into the ground through two current electrodes A and B and measuring the resulting voltage differences at two potential electrodes from current in amperes and potential difference values in volts. An apparent resistivity value is calculated. Here, resistivity meters normally give a resistance value that is R is equal to V by I. So in participate, the apparent resistivity value is calculated by sigma A is equal to KR. The geometric factor K is specific to the array being used and electrode spacing. The apparent resistivity is the bulk average resistivity of all soils and rock influencing the current. It is calculated by dividing the measured potential difference by the input current and multiplying by K. The apparent resistivity PA is expressed in units of ohm meters. The instrument used to carry out these methods is known as the resistivity meter. The current and potential electrodes are generally arranged in linear array. The most commonly practiced arrays are the Schlumberger array, Werner array, and the dipole-dipole array. Here, guys, the resistivity surveys. In the resistivity surveys, their Werner or Schlumberger configuration is employed. In both of these arrays, electrodes are distributed along a line centered about a midpoint that is considered the location of the sounding. The Werner configuration is the simplest in terms of the geometry of electrode placement, and Schlumberger is the most time effective in terms of fieldwork. So Werner configuration. So the Werner configuration was developed by Werner in 1912. It is shown in the figure. In this configuration, the two current electrodes A and B are the two potential electrodes are placed in a line with each other, equidistant from one another and centered on some location. In this array, the electrodes are so arranged that the distance between any two successive electrodes is equal. The electrode spacing of the potential and the current electrode is in the ratio of H to 3A. That is, if the distance between potential electrode is the distance between current electrode is 3A. The apparent resistivity computed from measurements of voltage V and current I is given by the relatively simple equation shown here. In the actual surveys to interpret the resistivity variation with the depth, the electrode spacing is changed for every location. That is, all the four electrodes have to be moved to new positions for every measurement. Okay, guys, now, so we have come to the equipotential methods. In this method, two primary electrodes are inserted into the ground 6 to 7 meters apart from each other, across which current is introduced. The position of these primary electrodes remains fixed in the subsequent investigations. Potential between these primary electrodes is determined with the help of two such electrodes, and points of equal potential found of along the entire region under investigation, which are joined to get equipotential lines. Under normal conditions, that is, when the material below is of uniform nature, the equipotential lines would be regular in character. But in cases when the material below is not of uniform character, that is, it contains patches of high or low conductivity, the equipotential lines would show clear distortions or irregularities which would include the probable locations of rock masses of different characteristics. And resistivity method. It is similar to equipotential method, but in this case, it is the resistivity of the material of the subsurface which is determined from which important interpretations are made. Here also, a known current is introduced through two electrodes. The current electrodes which are inserted at some distances apart from each other. Potential gradient is then measured directly with the help of two or more potential electrodes placed at proper distances within the two outer current electrodes. A typical resistivity meter. A resistivity meter consists of both a voltmeter and a current meter is nothing but a meter. Most systems report the ratio V by I voltage by I current instead of each one separately. The resistance can then be converted into resistivity using geometrical parameters based on the type of array. Most modern resistivity systems typically utilize at least four electrodes. About 70% of the current applied by two electrodes at the surface stays within a depth equal to the separation of the electrodes. In this method, the electrodes are driven approximately 20 centimeters into the ground and a DC or a very low frequency AC current of known magnitude is passed between the outer or current electrodes, thereby producing within the soil an electrical field under boundary conditions. Guys, here I will explain the figure. The first one is the current meter. This is the voltmeter. This is the potential electrode. A 0 by 3, 0 by 3, 0 by 3. Here, guys, electrode. Resistivity method for subsurface investigation. This is, excuse me, guys. This is the resistivity method for subsurface investigation. Resistivity, how do we measure it? Guys, apply a non-potential difference measured with voltmeter to a circuit with a resistive material of known length and cross-sectional area. Then measure the current with ammeter. This gives the resistance R. The spacing of this current and potential electrodes is of vital importance in this method. A number of arrangements have been suggested, of which Werner's arrangement is followed quite commonly in this arrangement. The potential electrode are placed at a distance 1 by 3a, where a is the total distance between the current electrodes. Resistivity is then calculated by the formula P is equal to 2 pi dV by I, where P is resistivity in ohms per meter, V is equal to potential difference, I is equal to current in ampere, D is equal to 1 by 3A, where A is total distance between outer electrodes. For simple sounding, a Werner array is used as here, then the resistivity is given sigma is equal 2 pi RA by L. A is the spacing between the electrodes. Here Werner array AMNB. Advantages of electrical method. It is a very rapid and economical method. It is good up to 30 meters depth. The instrumentation of this method is very simple. It is a non-destructive method. Disadvantage of electrical method. It can only detect absolutely different strata like a rock and water. It provides no information about the sample. Cultural problems cause interferences, example, power lines, pipelines, buried casings, or fences. Data acquisition can be slow compared to other geophysical methods, although that difference is disappearing with the very latest techniques. Resistivity used in map faults, map lateral extent of conductivity contaminant volumes, plums, locate voids, map heavy metals soil contamination, delineate disposal areas, map paleo channels, explore for sand and gravel, map archaeological sites. Methods, self potential methods. All those electrical methods that involve measurement of natural electrical potential of the subsurface rocks are included under this heading. The natural potential may be due to electrochemical reactions between the solutions and the surrounding subsurface rocks. These reactions are not always of the same order throughout the dimensions of the rock masses, thereby creating a potential difference and conditions for flow of current from one end to the other end. Elongated ore bodies of magnetite and pyrite are easily delineated by this method. Potential drop methods. This is include a variety of methods in which electrical current is artificially introduced from an external source at certain points and then its flow through subsurface materials recorded at different distances. The behavior of the flow lines of the electrical current is directly related to the nature of the subsurface materials. The depth of penetration of electrical current in these investigations is broadly equal to D, although there are many attached to this generalization. The resistivity method envisages interpretation of the qualitative as well as quantitative characters of the subsurface materials, which are governed by two basic principles. If material below is of uniform nature, the resistivity values would be of a regular character. If the material is non-uniform, that is, it consists of layers or masses of different character, then these would be indicated irregularities or anomalies in the resistivity values. The depths of at which these anomalies occur can be calculated and also the nature of the subsurface material broadly understood. In common practice, the resistivity of a given area is measured by gradually increasing the distance between the electrodes and by changing the directions of the profiles. Results are plotted on a graph with resistivity and depth as main factors. An abrupt change in the resistivity curve, rise or fall, would often suggest a change in the nature of the material corresponding to the depth. The existence of especially low zones such as aquifers, fracture zones, buried valley may be indicated even in linear traverse, keeping the spacing between the electrodes constant along the entire traverse. Applications. Guys, in prospecting, the electrical methods have been successfully employed in delineation of ore bodies occurring at shallower depths. For such surveys at great depths, these are not of much help. In Table 1, Some typical value ranges of resistivity are given. As may be seen, rocks exhibit a great variation ranging from as high resistivity as 10 to 5 ohms meters in igneous rocks to as low as less than 1 ohm per meter for clayey marls. In civil engineering, resistivity methods have been widely used in engineering investigation for determination of depth to the bedrock, as for instance in important projects like dams, buildings, and bridge foundations, where it would be desirable that the structure should rest on sound hard rocks rather than on overburden or soil. Guys, here, excuse me, guys. Guys, here, guys, location of geological structures like folds, buried valleys, crushed and fractured zones due to shearing and faulting, location of aquifers and other water-bearing zones, which could be easily interpreted on the basis of known resistivity values of moistures, rich rocks and dry rocks. Some more applications: characterize subsurface hydrogeology, determine depth to bedrock or overburden thickness, determine depth to groundwater, map stratigraphy, map clay aquifers, map saltwater intrusion, map vertical extent of certain types of soil and groundwater contamination, estimate landfill thickness. And guys, here, uh, some more applications is there, but actually that applications is not mentioned here. Guys, actually, and one more, some applications is there here. Resistivity sounding techniques are applied to determine the depth to bedrock or overburden thickness, characterize subsurface hydrology, determine depth to groundwater, map clay aquifers, map salt water intrusion, map stratigraphy, map vertical extent of certain types of soil and groundwater contamination, estimation of landfill thickness. Resistivity profiling techniques are applied to map faults on such structures, locate dikes in substrata, locate voids and caverns, locate paleo channels, map lateral extent of conductive contaminant flumps, map heavily metals soil contamination, delineate disposal areas, locate shootable building material at shallow depth near the project site. So guys, here electrical resistivity method for groundwater investigation mainly. Electrical resistivity methods of geophysical prospecting are well established and the most important method for groundwater investigations. Groundwater through the various dissolved salts it contains. It ionically conductive and enables electric currents to flow into the ground. Consequently, measuring the ground resistivity gives the possibility to identify the presence of water, taking in consideration the following properties. A hard rock without pores or fracture and a dry sand without water or clay are very resistive several tens thousands of ohm meters. Guys, did you observe the first point is very important. For example, if you conduct the electrical resistivity, what you observe, if you get the if you get the resistivity value several tens thousands ohms per meter, what that indicates, a hard rock without pores or fracture and a dry sand or without water or clay are very resistive, so several tens thousands ohm meters. The second point is a porous or a fractured rock bearing free water has a resistivity which depends on the resistivity of the water and on the porosity of the rock. See below. Several tens to several thousands ohms per meter. An impermeable clay layer which has bound water has a low resistivity, several units to several tens of ohms. Mineral ore bodies, iron or sulfides, have very low resistivities due to their electronic conduction, usually lower or much lower than 1 ohm per meter. Groundwater detection. To identify the presence of groundwater from resistivity measurements, one can look to the absolute value of the ground resistivity through the Arkin law. For practical range of freshwater resistivity of 10 to 100 ohms per meter, a usual target for aquifer resistivity can be between 550 and 2000 ohms per meter. Most of the time, it is the relative value of the ground resistivity which is considered for detecting groundwater. In a hard rock resistance environment, a low resistivity anomaly will be the target, while in a clayey or salty conductive environment, it is a high resistivity anomaly which will most probably correspond to fresh water. In sedimentary layers, the product of the aquifer resistivity by its thickness can be considered as a representative of the interest of the aquifer. However, electrical methods cannot give an estimation of the permeability but only of the porosity. The contrast of resistivity between a fresh water and a salted water, the contrast of resistivity between a fresh water and a salted water coming from sea intrusion, for instance, is high, and the depth of water wedge is usefully well determined with electrical methods. Okay, guys, thank you for all of your patience. In the next class, I will tell you the next topic. Thank you.